trial court for the County of Iron is now in session. The Honorable Richard J. Salello presiding.
Please be seated. The defendant and the attorneys are here. The jury is not present. We're still in the jury room. Counsel and the court have been discussing witness lists, and the witness list has been substantially impaired. Ms. Powell, do you want to tell us who you're not going to be calling?
Your Honor, we have named on our witness list, and at this time are moving to strike from our witness list Mary Cochran, Chet Cochran Jr., Chester Cochran, Colton Gaboyan, Alyssa Palmer, and Jim McNeil.
And you have no objection, Mr. Schulte?
I have no objection. The only one that caused a little bit of pause was Colton Gaboyan. I thought about this matter, discussed with my client. It's my opinion that any positives that we could get from him may be outweighed by any negatives that may come in. He might not help us as much as we like. He may hurt us more. Therefore, I've got no objection to that him coming in, not to be called, excuse me.
All right, thank you. And there's no objection to those witnesses sitting in on the proceedings?
None.
None, Your Honor.
All right. Could we have the jury in, please?
All rise.
Please be seated. Everyone, the jury is now with us in the jury box. Members of the jury, again, I apologize for the delay, but we've been doing some of these legal issues. We also have been substantially impairing the witness list, which means that for today, we might finish the day early, maybe mid-afternoon. It's supposed to be 60 degrees out, so I'm sure you folks won't be too upset with finishing a little early. You'll recall we had Ms. Gaboyan on the stand, and the prosecutor was ready to introduce a clip of a phone conversation.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Through her. We're going to call her again at this time. Is she...
Chief of Police, can I just ask Melanie Gaboyan to come in, please? Gaboyan.
Good morning, Ms. Gaboyan. Would you raise your right hand?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
You may be seated.
Your Honor, I believe we left off with the testimony that Ms. Gaboyan had received phone calls from her daughter while her daughter was incarcerated in the Iron County Jail, and one shortly after her arrest, or after she was brought to Michigan. And Your Honor, at this time we would move to introduce People's Report Exhibit number 4.
Without objection, number 4 is received.
City Jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charge, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hi, sir. Hi. What? Rain? Yeah. Yeah, I did it rain. Just walked, I stepped I'm in my parking lot at work.
Okay, can you remember something?
Okay.
I need you to back up some stuff for me. Did you guys pack up my room?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
in the attic.
Yep.
I need shorts, as many pairs as you can find.
Okay.
The best knee socks or the socks that I have.
Mm-hmm.
The best underwear for girls and a pair of
Mm-hmm. Do you get to wear that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a week now.
Oh, okay. So are they coming to get you or what?
We're going to have to call Detective Ogden, the overcrowd.
Detective Ogden?
Yeah, I can give you his number, but if you don't have to write down.
Okay, go ahead.
313
Mm-hmm.
1720.
Mm-hmm.
I would call when you get off the phone with me, because you leave them whatever home up here.
Oh, that's a will come over. Is that a overcut?
Yeah. And you can have
Okay.
him bring it when he comes up instead of trying to ship it to save money.
Will he do that?
Yeah.
All right. How you doing?
Good. And then if you want to put in a weekday with Tina Dividends,
Yeah. What's going on, Kelly? What the hell is wrong? I mean, where did all this come from? What? No, I see this coming after it all happened, but I didn't know that you guys killed people before.
you know, all the recordable and stuff like that.
I know, Kelly. I know. But I mean,
Like,
you don't have to give me details. I just,
like I said, basic life and stuff. So,
I realized that I just, why, Kelly? Why did you do all this?
there you go.
Oh, no, but it's in my head. It swims every day. I keep asking these questions over and over again. All right. I'll see what I can do about these things.
And then if you want, you guys can just write it and give us a call.
We will, because we can't do a ton of calls, but, all right. There won't be a problem. Do I have the address?
Okay, look it up on the computer.
Okay. What do we look up when we look it up, though? What are we supposed to look up? Oh, that's just what it is right now? Higher, County? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right, let me see what I can get out of here for you. No, that's fine. I I know, I get it. I guess I really didn't expect you to answer them. I keep asking the questions and it just makes me sick to my stomach. I just can't believe all this is happening. Do you have a conscience? I don't think you do. Has this have you always felt this way?
You really is
I know, I don't know why. It's in my head. I can't help it. I gotta ask. Okay, all right. That's.
Yes, I right.
Yeah, I do. I know.
You know that, right?
You what?
Right to the answer to that.
I know. It's just a lot to take in.
Like I said, you're gonna have to trust me.
Oh, no, I don't trust you anymore. You keep telling me that. You've been telling me that. And I remember the day one when it all started, you said, don't worry, we didn't have nothing to do with this, they're just checking. And oh my God, here we are. And
Now I got one clean shower.
you got a what?
A clean shower.
Unsweet shower?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that means.
I was just saying I had a shower tonight with my dog this morning.
So, I mean, it's a lot to take in.
That is,
You what, I mean?
you make yourself for nothing.
Oh, I don't blame myself. That I don't blame. I just can't believe, I never saw this. I never saw anything. And I was just worried about you being on drugs.
That's funny that you didn't see that.
No, honey, I didn't see that.
Drugs help. That's the only thing keeping things okay.
Well, why didn't you go get help?
There's no help, that's where you try.
Evidently you didn't try hard enough.
I did.
Or you should have asked him to put you in and leave you in or something.
People don't do that.
I guess. I suppose that's true. Overall, even though all this has happened, you're still my daughter and I still love you. I hate what's done. I hate what happened. I hate all the choices and things that you guys did. But I still love you. That's just something I can't. You what?
Together. We did all that stuff.
So,
We've never done anything really together.
yeah, but you still did bad things.
Yes.
And you made your dad cry, you made your brother cry, you made your mother cry, your sister, your other brother. I know, and how sad that is. It really is sad, Kelly. Did you fit mentally? You did, absolutely. You know what? I know, and honestly, what a terrible thing to say, but I'm glad you are, just so you don't hurt anybody. Well, okay. I'm not saying you can't hurt people there because I'm sure you're probably, but I'm just saying that at least you're off the street. My biggest fear used to be that I was going to get that call that you were dead somewhere. Isn't that kind of weird?
Did you get your note in the second?
Nope, I didn't. Not yet. I know. They told us that we would get it eventually. They didn't tell us what's on it or anything, but they did say we would get it eventually. It's like it's cutting out the number. This is like on a regular Michigan line too. Sometimes it's not on a Michigan line.
This is my phone, my work.
Oh, okay. Do you have a phone in your room?
And the TV.
Really?
I don't watch it.
No, you never did.
I stare at the brick.
Kelly, I hope that at some point you get some help. Okay, that does not make sense. How could that not be? I mean, you can't change what happened, but maybe you can stabilize your mind and get these thoughts and terrible things out of there.
You don't think I've tried that for years?
What?
You don't think I've tried that for years?
Well, maybe you should have asked. Maybe you should have said something. I guess not. It's easier to hurt somebody than to ask for help.
I've always been like this.
Like since when? What age would you say? Did you ever really care for anybody? Did you ever really love us?
I'm sure I do.
But you don't know. Yeah, but you know what? If maybe you would have one day said, Mom, Dad, I'm really sick. I feel like I want to kill people. I feel like I want to hurt people. I feel like I want to do people. I would have looked at you like you were nuts, but I would have done something. I would have forced them to take you and put you in. What I think?
You remember me going to the girls' home?
Yes, because you ran away and the judge put you in there because you told him you didn't want to go home. But that, you what? Yeah, but you had doctors there, you could have told those doctors. And you know what the facts you told them? And what was those doctors, was that Tri-County? I was thinking, but where was Tri-County? I remember you went to Tri-County. Come back, huh? Oh, okay. Because I remember you come back home with all these different pills they gave you for anxiety, depression. And I said, you can't take that much medicine. Nobody gives you that much medicine at one time. Yeah, but maybe you weren't making them believe you or something, honey. Remember being 18 months old? Yeah, I actually remember when I was a baby, a couple of things, like when I was 3. I still picture a couple of things. But, nope, I did not know that. Hey, one more time, you're cutting off here. So, who tell me what more to do? I can't, buddy. No, but I have no idea who would have molested you. I mean, I'm being serious. I don't know who it would have been. Well, if I didn't know it at the time, I would at least done something about it then. Because what if he's doing something to other people? Kelly.
Yeah, man, I take care about people. I am calls everyone.
Yeah.
No, different thing.
Yeah.
No, really.
You really?
But I have no reason why I'm jail right now.
Yeah, I know. I just, it's like devastating. I walked in like a boss.
How do you think I feel?
Kelly, I don't know. If I would have known this, I would have done everything in my power to get you out. I really honestly wish at some point you would have said, Mom, I feel like I gotta kill people, or I kill people, I need help. Because don't think I wouldn't have got you help for that. I tried to get you to go for drug rehab, okay? That's something different. But we would have done everything in our power to find a way to get you in. Would you have got help? Maybe institutionalize you? Told you were going to hurt yourself and other people? That's why they wouldn't let you out?
I only hurt myself for stupid things other people. That's me.
Yeah, but I just don't understand why you feel like you had to do that.
Well, I spent a long time figuring out my brain.
And you are so smart. You know what I always told you that. I have always told you that.
Why do you think
And-
I'm in jail at 33 and it was a little longer? So,
But I just don't understand. I guess I'll never understand.
1 minute left.
1 minute.
You know, I know, honey. I will write you. I will get that stuff together. I'll call them.
Call him now and have him give you a review. Okay.
Have them call you. Okay, and then I'll call Colt and see what he can find for you up in the attic. We've got a real nice leak code. I put it all away. I thought it was going to be a nice trip. I mean, like a short trip, maybe a couple of years type of thing.
It might be.
But anyway,
Don't, like I said, no more smart.
no, it's not about being smart. The problem is now, you feel like you got to do that to people, so I don't think you should be out. Well, because I don't want you to hurt anybody else. I don't want you, well, just,
Thank you for using Securus.
I love it, Mom.
That was a difficult call for you, wasn't it, Mrs. Malone? Fair to say that you would do anything to help your daughter if you could.
Oh, absolutely.
We did not hear her say anything in that phone call blaming Jason Cochran for her behavior, did we? Thank you.
Questions?
Well, I said I wasn't gonna have any, but I do have very few, so. Well, you wanna get off that stand very quickly? I'll do
I'm
that.
okay, whatever.
All right. And again, I'm gonna be very brief with you. You, in that phone call, you talked about you had some concerns about Kelly using drugs. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, ever since she was a teenager, I had issues with her doing drugs. I finally had to do tough love when she was 18 and kick her out because her and her friends would come through and they were totally obliterated, and I had to kick her out because I still had 3 kids to raise and I just couldn't have it all around. After my mom died, she came back home and I told her she could come home, only under the condition that I could get her drug tested anytime I wanted to, and if she refused, she would have to go back out.
These concerns continued while she was living there with you, with Jason?
Yes, it was worse.
And again, you said you tried to set up for rehab. When was that, if you recall?
Honestly, I don't remember. I just know that when she ran away, they put her in a girls' home and they did some, counseling and stuff with her. Through the years, she's had different counseling. I don't remember dates. I don't.
Okay, so a while ago.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I've offered her, even up till recently when she lived there, I kept telling her, I said, I could tell she was, drugged up, and I'm like, you need to quit that, or what, I don't know how I worded it. And she goes, I'm not on anything. Well, you could tell she'd fall asleep in her food. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor, we'd like to release Mrs. Gaboyan from her subpoena.
All right, thank you. You're excused and released from your subpoena, as is your husband and son.
Your Honor, our next witness is Walt Amerman. Can you get your vote?
Mr. Ammerman, would you please step forward all the way up in front here? If you would stand, raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
You may take a seat.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Walter Ammerman, A-M-M-E-R-M-A-N,
And how old are you, Mr. Ammerman?
49.
And what is your present address?
Post Office Box 1011, 1222 East Porter Street, Albion, Michigan.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a service technician for spindle grinding service, traveling around and repairing machines.
And did you know Jason Cochran?
Yes.
And how did you meet him?
I met him through an online Battle Pirate game on Facebook.
And how long ago did you meet him?
Probably near the end of 2012 or early in 2013.
So you developed this friendship with him over this game, Battle Pirates, on Facebook?
Yes.
At some point in time, did you actually meet Jason Cochran in person?
Yes, I would say the first time was March or April of 2013
And where did you meet him at?
at their house,
And you say their house, whose house are you referring to?
Jason and Kelly's.
And how often would you see him?
In passing through, maybe 4 or 5 times I went to their house and they came to mine a couple of times. But we were online every night of the week, you know, playing the game.
So, for those of us who don't play these games on Facebook, when you say you're online playing this game, do you have the ability to speak with each other or chat with each other?
Yes.
Both?
Both. We did a lot of chatting through the game, and then sometimes we'd talk on the phone while we're playing the game, and chatting in messages, and so a lot of interaction with. It just worked out that there's 500 sectors in the game, and we landed right next to each other when we both started the game, so we were learning the game together.
And you indicated that you played the game almost every night. Did you also talk or text with him during the day?
Sometimes, sometimes texting during the day, but basically with my job I travel all the time and I'm in a motel room with nothing to do, so I play the game, and he was home and played the game also. So.
And do you know Kelly Cochran?
Yes.
And how do you know her?
Basically the same thing. She had she played the game also. We both played, and all three played, all in the same group.
And when did you first meet Kelly? Was it the same time you met Jason?
Yes, met them both the same day.
And how often would you see or talk to her?
It was similar to the same as Jason, maybe a little less, but she worked a lot, and he didn't, so he was home a lot more.
And do you know why Jason didn't work?
Bad back. I believe he had some injections in his back or something, and a lot of back pain, and that was, I think he worked previously, but I don't think he was too active in working at the time that I knew him.
So did you ever visit the defendant and Jason while they lived in Caspian, Michigan?
No, I did not.
Why is that?
Well, it's 500 miles from my house. I didn't have any work in that area, so I didn't go through that area. It was very convenient for me to visit them down in Indiana because that's a main thoroughfare for going anywhere west, but Caspian's not a main thoroughfare for anything.
When you did spend time in their presence, what types of things would you do with them?
We ate a lot of food, played the game, smoked marijuana.
Do you guys play cards?
We played some cards near the end, one time at his parents' house.
And you indicated that you spent some time at his parents' house. How often would you see his parents, Jason's parents?
I was there at least 3 or 4 times, one time with my family on our way to Tennessee. They had a lot of animals, and Jason's mom was really good about taking my daughter around to pet the horses and things. It was a great time.
Now, we'll shift gears on you here. Did you call the FBI sometime in February of 2016?
Yes.
Okay. In which office did you call?
Marquette, I do believe.
And why did you call the FBI?
That was on Monday, February 22nd. And Jason died. I was notified Jason died on February 20th, and I thought it was somewhat odd. And I had known that Jason had told me November of 2014 that there was somebody missing in the UP and they were being blamed for it or finger pointed at them for it, and assured me they had nothing to do with it, but it always stuck in my mind that that's kind of odd that anybody would be just, you know, accused of something like that. So I did some research on my own and found the person that was missing, Christopher Reagan from Caspian, and on that missing persons report it had 2 numbers that you could call, the Iron River Police or the Marquette FBI office. And I called just to say I thought it was odd that Jason had died, and I know that you were looking at them, and I thought it might be important for you to know that.
Okay. Did you know anything about Kelly Cochran or Jason Cochran's involvement in Chris Regan's disappearance?
Not a thing.
What did they say to you about it?
They told me that, he told me that the police had contacted them involving the guy's disappearance, and they didn't do it, obviously. They said they had nothing to do with it, didn't know anything about it. Said that they took there was about a month when I didn't hear from them. He said they took their phones and their computers and took some things from their house. I remember he said some carpet, some drywall, things like that. And they were constantly harassing them, talking to them about the situation. And he assured me they had no involvement.
Was there ever any indication to you that the Cochrans may have had marital problems?
Not really that I can testify to. I mean,
Miss Jason did not lead you to believe that there were any issues going on in the home in the fall of 2014?
it seems like about that time he talked about having gone to a mental hospital for breaking down, and I didn't get a lot of elaboration as to why that was. I don't know.
When did you become aware that they relocated to Michigan? Or to Indiana?
Probably about the time they did. It was March of 15 when they said they're moving back because of the constant harassment, and so they can't, you know, small town, can't get any peace of mind, and can't get any more work. And so it was probably within a week of the time they actually moved back.
Did someone contact you after you made that phone call to the FBI?
Yes.
And who contacted you?
Detective Ogden from the Hobart Police Department in Indiana.
And did you end up helping or assisting with the investigation?
Yes.
And how did you help?
He called me 2 or 3 days after the funeral of Jason and said he got my number from the FBI. And he asked me to come to Indiana to talk to him. So I drove down there, and he explained to me that he had a plan in the works that he would like to have me call Kelly and tell her that Jason had mailed me a letter back in December and said if anything ever happened to him to please forward the letter to the UP, to the Iron River Police Department, and he wanted me to do that on a recorded call.
And this letter actually was fictitious, right? Never existed. So, did you agree to assist him with this plan?
Yes, he told me that if I felt at all like I shouldn't do this, that he could get a lawyer or somebody from Indiana to say that they were contacted, but he said it would mean more coming from me.
And what, if anything, did you do in preparation for this call?
I was in my vehicle with Detective Ogden and I want to say another Detective Hoke maybe, and they were trying to tell me to just act like I'm reading a letter from Jason to Kelly, and they said I really wanted to write that out. And the detective in the back seat, he said, well, just act like you're reading it. And I said, well, if she wants me to read it again, I need to read it again, just like it was written the first time. So I actually wrote it out like I would predict that Jason would have wrote it to me, and then we called and I read it to her.
Do you remember what day the call took place?
It was 3 weeks. 3 weeks after he died, so it was February 20th when he died, so whatever the following 3 weeks Saturday would be.
Does March 12th sound familiar?
That math sounds right.
Approximately what time was it when you contacted her?
I want to say 3:30ish, and I don't know if that's Indiana or Michigan time, but 3:30.
And where were you at when you called her?
In the parking lot at a movie theater in Merrillville, right off of 30.
Were the detectives with you during the call?
Oh, yes.
Do you know where she was at when you called?
I didn't know then. I found out later she was at his parents' house.
And how do you know that?
Chet, Jason's brother, had told me that he was there with her.
What was her reaction on the phone when you told her this?
Surprised. She didn't want me to mail it. I think surprised would be the biggest thing. Sad.
Your Honor, we have already admitted joint exhibit number 91, which is the call and we'd like to play at this time. And I apologize to the jury. I understand that acoustics are terrible in the courtroom, and I just want them to know at least that these calls or these different acoustic things that they're playing are actually on a disc that the jury, if they're admitted, will be able to take back into the jury room.
You can proceed.
Thank you.
It's 4:30. The following is a recorded conversation being placed by CS 16-74-02. It is March 12, 2016. It's 4:39 p.m. and the CS is going to be calling Kelly Cochran.
call you back in my half hour?
I guess you could if you had to, but this is...
Oh, no.
Well, you know, we met at Chili's a couple times.
Yeah.
Like back in December we met.
Yeah.
And this has really been bugging me, but Jason asked me for my address. Okay?
Okay.
And, you know, no big deal, I gave it to him. And I got a letter like January 4th or 5th or something like that from him. And inside is a note from him and another letter. I don't know how to... The note says, Brock, if something were to happen to me, please send this in a few weeks. Do not open it. Thanks, quack, quack. And there's an envelope in there with no return address to the Iron River Police Department. So, I mean, it's been 3 weeks and it's been bugging me. I haven't been talking about it. But it's like I'm supposed to mail this, but I just wanted to tell you.
Please don't.
I don't know how not to. I mean, all I can picture is his mom saying I was his best friend and he did this to me. And he made me this. So, I really just wanted to tell you, I don't know what to do about it. I haven't been sleeping good, but, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to tell you, I just got home from Florida and I felt I needed to tell you. You know, he has never asked me to do anything, but I can't hear you.
Are you serious? Yeah, okay.
I'm not fucking with you. I really gotta go, I don't know what to do.
It's over here.
Alright,
Take care.
bye. Really started crying.
This is the end of the conversation. It is 4:43 on March 12, 2016. Stop recording.
Mr. Emmerman, were you nervous about placing that call?
Very.
And did she say, please don't?
That's what I heard, yes.
And did she break down crying during that conversation?
I would say so, yes.
Did you continue to have contact with her after that date?
Yeah, quite a bit. Either Facebook or text or calls.
Did she ever ask you again about the letter?
Just whether I mailed it. I said I did. Asked me what was in it. I said I didn't open it. Detective Ogden asked me if she did ask about it, to say that it was like more than a piece of paper, like rather thick envelope, where there was maybe a lot of information in it. And so there was several times she asked about it, but I just said I mailed it. I didn't have it anymore.
So you indicated that you had spoken or messaged with her quite a bit since that date. Would you say that it was more after the letter call than before?
It was, I can't say more or less. It was just every few days there would be messages. Obviously she's still grieving with the loss of her husband, and he was my friend, and you know, not a lot of the topics were just about the letter. It was just life in general.
Okay. Now, how would you describe Jason's personality?
He was great. Just a happy guy.
And how would you describe Kelly's personality?
I had no problems with her either. I mean, I thought it was a good friendship, you know. If anything, I felt she was more in control than him, if that makes sense.
Why did you feel that?
Just, I bought a trailer from him, and no negotiations were to be with him. It was all, well, wait till Kelly gets home. We'll talk about it when Kelly gets home, because she does the finances. And there was quite a few times when we'd be playing the game, and he'd say, Kelly's home and I gotta go. And that was it. He was off. It didn't seem like he wanted to be too confrontational about things. He just kind of went with the flow.
Now, did Kelly, after the letter call, ever say anything to you about the disappearance of Chris Regan?
I can't recall anything about it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Morning to you.
Now, we heard that phone call, and we heard Kelly initially say, I think you confirmed that as well. What we thought you heard her say was, please don't. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes.
Not long after that, though, didn't she also say, and I'm maybe not quoting this exactly, but do what you gotta do or do what you have to do? Did you hear her say that as well?
Yes.
And she cried a little bit, and then she repeated it again, said, do what you gotta do or what you have to do.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Then, do you recall a few days, that was on March 12th of last year, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall a few days after that, have another phone discussion with Kelly?
Probably did.
March 15th?
Okay.
Do you recall her again telling you to go ahead and do what you gotta do to honor Jason's wishes?
Yes.
So again, well, she initially reacted negatively. Afterwards, she told you, yeah, do what Jason wanted, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, what was the frequency of the time that you'd spend face to face with the Cochrans? How frequent would you see them again?
Every couple months, maybe. Every month, maybe two.
Okay, so let's give you every couple months then, or let's give you monthly, so about 12 times a year, approximately.
Well, I met them face to face in March of 13, and they moved to the UP when, December or something of that year, January of the year after. So I saw them maybe 6 or 8 times in that time, and then a few times after they moved back.
Okay. And when you would meet with them, how long of a period of time would you spend with them? Would it be hours, days?
Maybe an hour or 2, or maybe 3.
Okay, like you said, maybe go have a nice dinner somewhere as you're about coming through town and play some cards, have a drink or two.
Yeah, I don't really drink much, but...
Smoke some weed then, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you'd have basically just a peek into their lifestyle. You don't know the intimate details of their relationship. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Was there any times that you would do any kind of outdoor activities with them? Would you go tubing or things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We came to the lake and we went tubing and fishing.
And Jason was able to participate in those outdoor activities?
The fishing, not the tubing.
Not tubing? Okay. Just want to check my notes here. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Read back.
After after you called the defendant regarding the letter, did she, in later communications, ask you what the letter said?
Yeah, I just said I never opened it.
And did she ask you if she could see it before you mailed it?
I said I already mailed it.
So she did ask you if she could see it before you mailed it?
Yeah, she wanted to know what was in it.
And Mr. Schulke was asking you about how often you saw Cochran's face-to-face. How often did you speak with one or both of them during the week?
Oh, like I say, about every night we played the game. It was, you know, most every night. My wife would tell me I play the game too much, so I was always on, and he was on a lot too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. You can step down, and without objection, you're excused from your subpoena.
Your Honor, is there any objection to Mr. Emmerman if he chooses to stay in the courtroom?
Certainly, if we stay or he doesn't choose.
Lisa Champion, please.
How long do you anticipate this witness to be?
Probably till 11:15 maybe. It's a loud witness.
Morning. Would you please stand and raise your right hand?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
You may be seated.
Your Honor, at this time, before we get started with Ms. Champion's questions, we have some joint exhibits that I'd like to just introduce. One is exhibit number 99, which contains the laboratory reports that were authored by Ms. Champion from the Michigan State Police Laboratory.
99's received.
97 are the discs that contain her lab reports and the worksheets.
What did you say it was? 90?
97 discs for lab reports, worksheets, and results.
Received.
Number 98, Your Honor, is an example of an electropherogram, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's one page, it's one slide, and because I think the jury's going to have a hard time seeing it on the PowerPoint, I would ask the court's permission to pass it out to them. I did supply a copy to Mr. Schulke already, and I will supply a copy to the court this time.
Is that a joint exhibit?
It is a joint exhibit, Your Honor.
It's received, and you may publish it to the jury.
Thank you. And then, Your Honor, we have joint exhibit number 93, which is the DNA sample from the Reagan steering wheel. Joint exhibit number 92, which is a floss pick from which DNA extraction, from which DNA for Chris Reagan was extracted. Joint exhibit number 96 are paint scrapings from the dining room ceiling. Joint exhibit number 95 is Christopher Reagan DNA extract. Joint exhibit number 94 is DNA extract from inside the back door trim and from the right comforter.
All right, so then we have 92, 93, 94, 95, 96 are all received.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name.
My name is Lisa Champion.
And what is your occupation?
I am employed with the Michigan State Police in the forensic Science Division. I'm assigned to the Grand Rapids Laboratory, and I currently work in the biology unit.
And are you a forensic scientist?
I am.
And what are your duties as a forensic scientist?
As a forensic scientist in the biology unit, we receive evidence from agencies, both Michigan State Police agencies and other police agencies related to crimes. We process that evidence both for blood and other bodily fluids, and then collect samples and process those samples for DNA.
And specifically, are your duties more related to the DNA analysis portion?
I do both the biological screening and testing as well as DNA. Currently, I am doing primarily DNA. We've split a little bit more. Certain people are doing more of the screening and certain people are doing more of the DNA, but I have done both in the past.
And how long have you worked with the Michigan State Police as a forensic scientist?
For 10 years.
And how long have you worked in the area of DNA analysis?
Same, for 10 years.
And what is your educational background, Ms. Champion?
I have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Grand Valley State University.
Go Lakers. And do you have any additional training past your degree in biology?
I have training on the job with the Michigan State Police. Upon being hired, you go through an extensive training program. It includes observations with senior analysts, lab practicals, testing mock evidence, and a mock trial at the end of the testing period.
Is there additional training with respect to genetics, statistics, or population genetics?
There are certain classes that are required to obtain the position that are in the area of genetics and statistics. We also do undergo training in the area of DNA, some of which does include statistical analysis on an ongoing basis. We're required to have a certain number of hours of training per year in the area of DNA.
And are there national guidelines with respect to what would be required of a DNA analyst?
Yes, there are, like I said, those certain classes that you're required to have in order to qualify to get the position. It's including statistics, genetics, cellular and molecular biology.
And is there proficiency testing required?
There is. We do proficiency testing twice a year.
What does the proficiency testing consist of? Is it an oral exam, written exam? How does that work?
It is, the test is purchased from an external agency. It comes into the laboratory and you process it much like you would process a case. So you screen it for blood and bodily fluids. You take a sample and you process it for DNA. And then you report the results of your DNA analysis to that company. They evaluate it and they submit your results to the Michigan State Police or to the agency that you work for.
And during your training period, are you under the mentorship, for lack of a better term, of another analyst or scientist?
There wasn't one specific scientist that was assigned to mentor me, but I was required to observe multiple senior scientists in the laboratory during my training.
Does your laboratory, let me back up here. Have you testified in court before as to your findings or conclusions regarding DNA analysis?
I have.
Approximately how many times?
I would say 30 to 40 times, probably.
And could you just indicate for us some of the counties that you've been qualified as an expert in?
Yes, I know I've been qualified in Kent County, Allegan County, Berrien County, Delta County. I have testified in federal court as well as a number of other counties. I believe Kalamazoo County as well.
Approximately how many reports do you believe you've authored regarding your conclusions with respect to DNA analysis?
I would say it's in the thousands.
And
At this time, Your Honor, I'd offer Ms. Champion as an expert in the field of forensic science, specifically DNA analysis.
I recognize her qualifications. She will be allowed to testify by way of opinion, evidence within that specialty.
Ms. Champion, can you tell us what DNA is?
Yes, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is essentially the building block of life. It's found in all living things, and it makes up the structures of your body. It codes for the functions that take place in the organism, as well as physical appearances and things like that.
Is every person's DNA unique?
Yes, a large portion of your DNA is the same from person to person and codes for things that are the same from person to person, things that take place in your body. But there's a small portion that is different from person to person and makes every individual unique.
When DNA material is found on a sample, what types of biological material gives you DNA?
We can get DNA from blood, from semen, from saliva, from skin cells, sweat, in the form of skin cells. If you're sweating, you often leave skin cells behind.
What are reference samples?
Reference samples are known DNA samples collected from an individual, generally in the form of a buccal swab. And a buccal swab is just a swab that's taken from the inside of the cheek to collect cellular material to get that person's DNA profile to make comparisons to.
And the sample that you generally compare your buccal sample to or your reference sample to, is that called an evidence sample?
Yes, we will compare reference samples to evidence samples.
Are there environmental factors that impact whether DNA is found on an evidence sample?
Certainly there are environmental factors. DNA is subject to degradation under certain conditions. It's stable for long periods of time in the ideal conditions. But moisture, heat, sun, all of those things, microbial activity can degrade the DNA to where eventually we wouldn't be able to find any, or in the extent of that process, we might be able to find only a partial DNA profile because it's degraded to the point where we won't see all of the DNA present.
Does the absence of DNA indicate that a person has never touched or handled an item?
The absence of DNA indicates only that there's not a detectable amount of that individual's DNA present on an item. If there's no DNA on an item, it doesn't necessarily mean that nobody's touched it, but there certainly are different factors involved with how much DNA is left behind when someone touches an item.
If someone were to touch an item with gloves, would they necessarily leave DNA behind?
No, I would not expect to find their DNA if they wore gloves.
You mentioned something about sufficient quantity. What does that mean?
Well, in the processes that we use to test for DNA, I can only attest for whether there was a sufficient quantity for my process to allow me to observe the DNA types present. There may be DNA present that's in a quantity lower than what I can see in the processes that I'm using. So.
And is that a standard or a procedure policy that your laboratory must follow with respect to amount of DNA present before you can render an opinion?
It's not necessarily based on a mathematical amount, it's based on the end product. So we look at the profile that's developed, and if there is not enough information to render an opinion, then we will not render an opinion. But it's not necessarily based on a number or a quantity, it's based on what the electrophoregram looks like at the end.
Are DNA samples sometimes consumed during the process of analysis?
Yes.
And when you do get a result, are you able to tell how long DNA has been on a particular item?
No, I cannot.
Are there different types of material in your experience that it's difficult to obtain a DNA sample from?
Yes, certainly different items of evidence have different issues when trying to obtain DNA. If there's substances on the evidence that may interfere with our DNA analysis, that can be difficult, such as items that are very dirty. We often have trouble getting a DNA profile from items that are very dirty. And then also, when we're talking about skin cells, though, items that people touch, those can be difficult to get DNA profile from too, because just touching something one time does not necessarily mean that you left enough DNA that I would be able to obtain your DNA profile. And also, there's the issue of how many people have touched that item prior to that incident as well.
Are there other analysts, DNA analysts at the Grand Rapids Laboratory in addition to yourself?
Yes.
Approximately how many do you have?
There are 10 of us, including the supervisors.
Your Honor, if I may approach.
This is the same slide.
For the record, that's exhibit.
I don't have it, Your Honor. I passed out all my copies.
Exhibit number 98.
Thank you.
Now, what is the process that's used to analyze DNA on a piece of evidence?
The process that we use for analyzing DNA is called polymerase chain reaction. And the first step in the polymerase chain reaction is extraction. So in extracting an item, generally we have a small test tube, and it contains either a swab of an item that was used to collect DNA from an item, or a cutting from a piece of material, a piece of clothing or something like that. And to that cutting or swab, we will add chemicals. And what we're trying to do is to remove the DNA from that substrate, purify it, and remove the dirt and other stuff that's in the sample that we don't want, and get just the DNA extract that we can go forward with. After, would you like me to continue?
Please do.
After we extract the DNA and we have a DNA extract, the next step that I take is called DNA quantification. And I take a small portion of that extract, I put it in a test tube with some precise chemicals, and put it on a machine that attempts to estimate how much DNA is present in the sample. With that number, the estimate of the quantity of DNA, I'm able to target an ideal amount of DNA by either making dilutions or knowing how much sample to take on in the process. And then I take that sample on and do what's called amplification. So in amplification, we add a small amount of that sample to a test tube, with precise reagents. We put it on a machine that acts as a photocopying machine, similar to a photocopying machine, where we make millions of copies of the areas of DNA that we're interested in looking at. Once we have that amplified product, we can place it onto an instrument, separate the fragments out, and obtain the DNA profile from the evidence, which we can then make comparisons between references and evidence samples.
Okay, so it's really the DNA profile that you're actually making comparisons between of different, like the DNA profile from this pen from me touching it versus the DNA profile of Chris Regan from the floss pick. Is that
correct? We would make comparisons between the references and the evidence.
Okay. To see if the same person touched it or if it was an unknown person.
To see if there was some association that could be made, yes.
Do you ever have unknown donors?
Yes.
Is that relatively common?
To have unknown donors?
Yes.
Yes.
And when we say unknown donors, what do we mean?
Either a single source donor that I don't have a reference that matches, or sometimes a mixture of multiple donors, of which at least some of those donors are unknown.
And when you say donors, are you talking about people that may have left their DNA behind?
Correct.
And now on the screen we have a slide. Could you tell us what we see in this slide?
Yes, and that is the same as what you handed me, correct?
Yes.
Yes, this is a DNA profile. It appears to be a single source profile, and we can tell that because in a single source profile, which is the simplest DNA profile, we expect to see one or two types at every location that we look at. And the reason we expect to see one or two types is because you obtain one copy of your DNA from your mother, one copy from your father. So each of these locations you have either two different types, one from your mother and one from your father, or two copies of the same type, one from your mother and one from your father, which is exhibited as a single peak at that location.
Okay, when you say location, are you referring to those portions on the slide where there's a peak?
That's correct. Each of the boxes above the peaks is the names for the different loci or locations that we are looking at. And each of those boxes are the types that are present at that location.
Is this a profile or is this part of the process?
This is the profile that was generated.
And then you would use this to compare to another profile that you've generated?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I want to direct your attention to the reports that you've authored in this case. The first report, I believe, is record number 9.
Correct.
On February 5th, 2015, did you receive a DNA swab of the floss pick and DNA swabs of the steering wheel?
I would have to refer to my chain of custody to see the exact date that it was received. But yes, I did receive both of those items, and they are listed in record number 9.
Okay. And I guess the date isn't as important as what you did with them. Were you able to recover DNA from both the floss pick as well as the steering wheel swabs?
I was.
And what results did you have with respect to the steering wheel swabs?
I obtained a mixture of DNA types from the steering wheel swabs of multiple donors. At the time, it was reported as being too complex to make comparisons to. I did obtain a single source profile from the floss pick.
Okay, and what were the results from the floss pick?
I obtained a single source profile, male profile, and I believe that's the profile that you have up on the screen.
Okay. Of Christopher Regan?
The floss, yes, it's a floss pick. We were using it as an alternate known for Christopher Regan, yes.
In record number 17, did you receive a known blood sample?
I did.
And where did the known blood sample come from, if you recall?
It was sent to me from the Department of Defense.
And what did you do with that item?
Under record number 17, I took a cutting of it, placed it in that small test tube, and forwarded it on to do DNA at a later date, which is the subject of another report.
And could you tell us with record number 16, I actually skipped a record, what you did in that record?
Yes, record number 16 involves the analysis of that blood stain for DNA and also the analysis of another item that was submitted to me, identified as paint scrapings from the ceiling.
Now, the record number 16, that's from the blood sample or that's from the floss pick?
Record number 16 involves the processing of the blood sample.
And the paint scrapings from the dining room ceiling, were you able to obtain any DNA results from those?
I was not.
Is that, does that happen relatively often, that you're not able to?
I often have items that I don't obtain DNA from. It just depends on the item and whether it's a bodily fluid or whether it's a touch sample. But yes.
So record number 25, did you receive a red comforter sample that was previously analyzed?
I received a, I'm sorry, record number 25?
Yes.
I did not receive the comforter that was processed by a previous analyst. However, I did make comparisons to his data.
And when you say previously analyzed, he had actually obtained a DNA extract from an item identified as a red comforter?
Yes, he had processed both the item identified as from the comforter and the item identified as from the inside back door trim.
So you took the samples that he was able to extract and you compared those with known DNA profiles?
I did.
And whose profiles did you compare those with?
I compared it with the profile from Christopher Regan. I compared also with 2 items that were submitted under this record number. One was identified as a buckle swab from Kelly Cochran, and one was identified as a buckle swab from Jason Cochran.
And were you able to obtain DNA extracts from both of those items?
Yes, I was.
And what were the results of your comparison?
When comparing the profiles, the DNA profile identified as from the comforter matched the DNA profile from Kelly Cochran, and the DNA profile identified as from the inside back door trim matched the DNA profile from Jason Cochran.
Going back for a moment, there was another analyst that extracted the DNA from the comforter and the back door trim. Did your laboratory have reference samples from the suspects at that point in time to compare with?
We did not.
So when you received the reference samples from the suspects, you completed the comparison?
That's correct.
I want to direct your attention now to record number 34. Did you receive some evidentiary samples to analyze in that record?
I did.
And what evidentiary samples did you receive?
I received swabs identified as swabs of blood from forceps, and swabs of glasses, and swabs of cylinder container.
And did you know what the cylinder container was?
I believe that there was something that indicated that it was a snuff container.
Okay. So with respect to the swabs of blood from forceps, were you able to extract DNA from those swabs?
I was.
And what were the results of your comparison, if any?
I obtained a male DNA profile from the swabs of blood from the forceps, and it did match the DNA profile from Christopher Regan.
And were you able to obtain DNA from the swabs of the glasses or the swabs of the snuff can?
I did not obtain a DNA profile from either of those items.
And did that surprise you?
I believe it was indicated that they were collected from outdoors, and under those conditions that we spoke about earlier with degradation of DNA, I was not surprised not to obtain a profile from them.
And part of your job deals with statistics, is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. With respect to the DNA sample of Chris Regan that was on the forceps, is there a statistical analysis related to that sample?
Yes. In this case, I calculate a random match probability, and that is the probability of selecting a random person from the population and having them match the DNA profile that was obtained from this evidence item. And in this case, the random match probability for the blood from the forceps was, in the Caucasian population, 1 in 16.29 septillion. In the African American population, it was 1 in 439.8 septillion, and in the Hispanic population, it was 1 in 45.33 septillion.
So that's a high probability of match.
That's a fairly high, low, I guess, low probability that a random person would match this profile.
Thank you. That explains it better than I did. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Shoki.
Thank you. Good morning, how are you today?
Good.
Good, thank you. Now, if I'm understanding your testimony correctly, the only item that had DNA similar to the evidence samples that you considered for Mr. Regan was the forceps, is that correct?
The forceps was the only evidence item that I obtained DNA from Mr. Regan, yes.
Okay. The comforter, the inside trim of the door, nothing there.
Yes, they matched the suspect's DNA.
Same with the steering wheel of the car, correct?
Yes, it was a mixture, so I didn't match anybody to the steering wheel of the car.
Now again, you indicated that, that there's DNA in saliva, correct?
Correct.
So presumably, if I leave a sufficient sample in this water bottle, you'd be able to extract that, compare it to a known sample that I may have given in the past, and say, that's my Shoki's DNA in that water bottle, correct?
Correct.
I've been drinking out this water bottle all morning. You wouldn't be able to tell from what sip that particular sample came from, would you?
No.
And again, if I used this water bottle yesterday, you wouldn't be able to tell me what day that sample came from.
No.
And if I was to, again, this water bottle's in the courtroom with me, but if I brought it with me and took it out to my car when I was driving up in the morning and was drinking from the water bottle, you wouldn't be able to tell where I was when that sample was left in this water bottle, correct?
No.
And water bottle's a pretty mobile thing. I can take it anywhere with me, correct?
Correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, these forceps, pretty mobile things as well. These weren't chained down anywhere or anything like that.
I don't have any knowledge of where the forceps were collected from.
Fair enough. I do not believe I have any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bowe, any questions?
No additional questions, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you, you're excused. All right, how are you folks doing? How many witnesses did you plan on calling after?
Your Honor, I think we could actually fit 2 more in even with a break. They're fairly short witnesses this morning, so.
Okay, we got a late start here, but we'll take our morning recess. We'll cut it a little short because I'm going to give you more time during lunch hour. So you're excused to adjourn.